10, 9, 8. We have a go for main engine start. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the space shuttle, and it has cleared the tower.
Looks like slow. It is slow. That's the Cape.
Yeah, your touchdown.
Hello and welcome aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour, where we're orbiting almost 300 kilometers above the Earth. Our primary mission on this flight was to deploy a Tracking and Data Relay Satellite, or TDRS for short. And when it becomes operational, it will relay communications between orbiting spacecraft and tracking stations on the ground. A few days ago, we sent the satellite on its way.
Houston, Endeavour.
Go ahead, Endeavour.
We have deployed the IUS TDRS.
But deploying TDRS wasn't our only mission on this flight. Two of our crew members put on the protective EVA suits and went outside the orbiter on an important spacewalk.
We also have several science experiments to conduct, but for one of our experiments, we brought along some toys. Each of these toys work because of important scientific and mathematical principles that we often take for granted on the ground.
But things can work differently in space than they do on Earth, even toys. That's why when we're orbiting the Earth, we experience something called microgravity. That means that everything around us, our space shuttle, astronauts, even toys, float as if they have no weight.
If you don't understand microgravity, your teacher can help you out. But for now, we need you to help us with these experiments. We want to find out if the toys act differently in space than they do on Earth. But first, we have to know how they work on Earth. This is where we need your help.
We want you to experiment with the same kinds of toys we have here on the shuttle. Then, when you become experts with them, try to predict how they will act in microgravity. After you've made your predictions, watch what we do with the toys and see if you are right.
Remember, this is a team effort, and we're counting on you to make our experiment a success.
In this scene here, I'm trying to get the rat to flip on my hand, but as you can see, what happens instead is that his legs push against my hand and he spins up and away. Now in the next scene, what I did was tape his feet to a book. Now the book is so much more massive than the rat that when the rat pushes on it with his feet, the book turns only very slowly, and the rat, because he's taped, cannot jump up and away like he did with my hand.
Watch what happens when the suction cup releases now. You can see the spring jumper takes off. We'll watch it again. And boy, look how fast that travels across the spaceship. It really surprised me. We'll watch it slow motion here, and you can see it tumbling coming off the lockers.
The big question with this scene is, will the frog swim as well in air as he does in water? Well, if you watch the picture here, you'll notice that no, he does not. I try all different ways of getting that frog to swim in a straight line, but because the air is much less dense than water, I can't get him to do it. So the frog just flops around.
We'll take a look at the submarine here, and I'll let it go, and you can see that as it turns through the air, both the propeller and the submarine turn, instead of in the water where only the propeller turns. Now I'll take a look at what happens if I hold on to the propeller, and you can see that the submarine turns around it. Then I'll let both go, and it takes off. One more time. This time I've attached small pieces of paper onto the propeller to make the propeller larger. And we'll see what happens when we let this go. I'll move back so we can get a greater view of the line of travel. Let it go and it really takes off.
We've taped a pen onto the end of the submarine propeller to see what would happen and if the submarine would change the way it moved. Well, it turns out that it did. As you can tell, it flops around quite a bit more, and we had a harder time keeping it under control.
Let's look at the swimming fish. Now this fish swims real well in water, but watch what's happening now. He's really struggling and not getting anywhere. Just sort of floating around. Really doesn't swim very well in air. We'll try it one more time. Whoops, I think I had a little rotation, and he's turning around, just sort of flopping around, not really getting anywhere, trying to swim through air.
One of the things you can do to help the fish swim better in air is to increase the size of the fin. It also turns out that releasing the fish very gently has an impact on which direction the fish will swim. I finally got it right in this scene here, and you see the fish swimming forward.
We'll look at the flapping bird in microgravity, and you can see what happens here. It just flies around in circles, doesn't seem to have any direction of travel. Let's look at it again in slow motion. Just goes around, doesn't go straight as it does on the Earth in one gravity. And it looks like it's turning around the wings. Now I'll just soar it without the wings flapping. And it soars across the middeck. I tried throwing this paper maple seed several different ways. You can see it didn't go very well when I threw it holding onto the wing. Now I held on to the bottom and threw it, and it turned just a little bit. I finally got the hang of it. And you can see it turning now very much the same as it does on Earth. I'm throwing the paper boomerang, and we'll see what happens. It goes into the side of the wall. If there had been more room, I think the paper boomerang would have come back. Now this time I threw it and flipped it with a lot of rotation, but not much forward velocity, and it just keeps going straight.
Boy, that thing shot up like a rocket, and that caught me by surprise. I didn't expect that in this microgravity environment that it would go up that quickly. Even in slow motion, it comes off and hits me in the chest even before I can react. Here I have a single graviton that's floating free in the cabin, and it's spinning. You can see it wants to spin about the wheel inside as well, so you see the outer case spinning also. But I'm trying to get it to tip over, and I can bump it on the sides, on the top, on the bottom, and I can't make it tip over. It's stable about the axis I let it go in, which is the spin axis is up and down. This is the same configuration. I've got one spinning graviton here, and I've oriented it so that spin axis is pointing at the camera. Again, I'm just bumping it on the sides and the top and the bottom, and I cannot get it to tip. It's stable about the axis I let it go in. This should be a graphic demonstration of a spinning and a non-spinning graviton. You see the spinning graviton stays stable while the other one tends to tumble end over end because it has no stable spin axis. I'll do this one more time. You can see that one is spinning and one is not, and the one that's not spinning just tumbles free while the other one maintains the orientation I let it go in. Okay, here I have two spinning gravitons, and they're both stable as they spin here. And I take one and bounce it off the other. You can see this time, because they're both stable, they don't tumble. Neither one of them tumbles, as you might expect. Now here I have a curious combination of two gravitons that are attached together on a wiffle ball. And I have them both spinning in the same direction, so I would have thought they'd be very stable in this configuration. But because they weren't perfectly aligned with each other, they got out of hand. Wham! Came apart and really gave me a surprise. Let's take a look at that in slow motion. You can see how the misalignment causes them to break apart. Now this time I took those two gravitons and I rotated them in opposite directions from each other. And because their angular momentum vectors are in opposite directions, their stability axes cancel each other. So I'd expect to be able to let this go and just have it tumble. Now obviously I can't make them both spin exactly the same speed, so the one of them is going to have a little bit of stability, but you can see I can bump this stack and I can make it wobble around a little bit. As I bump it here, you see it will wobble some. It has some tendency for stability, but not as much as a single graviton would have floating on its own. And I can make it wobble pretty wide end over end. So having two of them spinning opposite directions canceled each other. Now we're getting complicated. I have three gravitons all hooked to the same wiffle ball, orthogonal to each other. That is, their alignment is 90 degrees to each other. And I'm going to spin them all in the same direction with reference to their attachment to the wiffle ball. Now, as I do this, you would expect that the angular momentum vectors of each of the gravitons would add up to a single vector which would be right between all three. So as I let this go and it tends to rotate, the only axis that it will rotate around is an axis that you can see if you put a pencil between all three of the gravitons. It's rotating about that axis that's equidistant from all three of them. Now as it continues to spin up by the natural character of the friction in the gravitons, it eventually spins up so fast it comes apart. Well, here's the same combination again. I have three gravitons mounted orthogonally to the wiffle ball, and I'm going to spin them all up in the same direction. And before I spin them up, you can see how they tumble end over end. There is no stability there because none of them are rotating. Now, as I spin all three of them up, initially when I let them go, you'll see them begin to rotate around that same axis that's right between all three. But one of the gravitons comes off, and look what happens to the remaining two. As that bottom graviton came off, the remaining two gravitons now are rotating around an axis right between the two of them. And again, I was lucky I didn't get beamed by this graviton as it came off toward me. Now here's an experiment that's a good demonstration of how a non-spinning graviton behaves just like a ball on the end of a string. I can change the axis of rotation just like you could with anything attached to a string here on Earth. But once I spin this graviton up, look how it maintains that stability around its rotation axis. I can spin it around and around, and it wants to stay in an orientation so that the spin axis is parallel to the axis of rotation that I'm holding the string in. Now look how I changed the orientation, and eventually the graviton ended up changing the orientation of its rotation so it matched the rotation axis of the string. Very interesting change in the way the graviton behaved. Now eventually I'll take it back to a horizontal rotation, so the rotation axis of the string is vertical, and you'll see the graviton again orient itself so its spin axis is vertical to match the rotation I'm making with the string. This rattleback is a very curious device here on the ground, because if you rotate it on a table, it will eventually turn around and spin the opposite direction. Now what you're seeing here are 3 sequences of me spinning it around each of its axes. I spin it end over end with the thick side horizontal, and then end over end with the thick side vertical. And then in the last sequence, I spin it around its longest axis, and you can just see it spins. In no case did it ever turn around and do the peculiar things it does on a table.
I was playing with the clacker balls one afternoon on the shuttle, and I had let them go and they drifted apart and they did this funny motion. So what I tried to do was get that funny motion to repeat itself. I experimented a little bit. I tried various different actions by spinning them in one direction or the other. I wound up taping the clackers so they stood apart, and then I flipped them first end over end, and that didn't seem to repeat the motion that I accidentally had discovered. And then spinning it around along the axis of the handle produced the flipping motion that you see here, and that was quite remarkable. As it spun around, there was a little bit of imbalance, and it seemed to flip end over end, which was unexpected when I first took them into space. Before flight, I had to practice with the clacker balls a bit since I had never played with them before. I became quite proficient at using the clacker balls in this fashion. However, while I was able to get one ball to displace the other on the ground, I was never able to get the clacker balls to do this in space. It was more difficult to produce this motion with the balls in this orientation relative to my body. In this next orientation, it was a little bit easier to get them to even come close to displacing one another, but I was never really successful. I believe it was easier here because of the orientation of my arm relative to my body, made it just a bit easier in getting the balls to behave as I wanted them to. On Earth, gravity produced just enough drag on the stationary ball by weighing it down just enough so that you could produce the desired motion. That is, have one sit still and the other one spin around and hit it, and then it staying still and the other one continuing the motion.
This experiment is a demonstration of the concept of momentum. The racquetball has less mass than the pool ball, and as a result, after a collision, it will always travel faster than the pool ball, even if I throw the pool ball at the racquetball. Here you'll notice it does move faster because it does have less mass. Now if I tape the two of them together and again hit the racquetball with another pool ball, you'll see it curves around the pool ball. In this final demonstration, I hit the two pool balls, and because the racquetball has not been hit, it just goes along for the ride.
This ball and cup was one of the more difficult toys I've demonstrated on the flight. You can see that the ball just won't stay in the cup as it does on Earth. Of course, on Earth we have gravity holding the ball in the cup, but in this microgravity environment, when I put the ball in the cup and then push to hold it, I've actually pushed the ball away. So I never could get the ball to stay inside the cup. We'll try again. You can see I just push on the ball and that pushes the ball out.
In this scene, I try to throw this ping pong ball the old-fashioned way, but it doesn't curve down toward the target like I would expect on Earth. So I have to change my throwing style. I throw it straight at the target without any twist at all, and then I attempt to throw another ball with some twist to see if it changes the direction of the ball as it goes to the target. Let me try this again. Straight with no spin. Oops. Now one thing you'll have to remember is that the Velcro of the ball does have to touch the target. Let me try this again. There we go. And then I'll throw it one more time with some spin to see if the trajectory toward the target curves. Looks to me like it did a little bit. Now in this scene, I take the target off of the lockers so that it's free floating, and this is a good demonstration of how one object will react when you hit it with another object in space. Now it's floating around, in part because of the way that the first ball hit it, so I'll throw another ball to try to change the direction of the floating. I got it to work. Horseshoes isn't played the same way in space as it is on Earth. Here I try to throw a shoe the old-fashioned way, and as you can see that without the effect of gravity, the shoe just bounces off. I try it one more time, just to demonstrate the point, and then I decide I'm going to change my technique. Instead of throwing the shoe right at the pole, I'm going to use a spinning motion to see if I can catch the pole. And in fact, that's exactly what happens. At this point, the shoe is pretty stable in a spinning motion around the pole, and in fact, this ended up spinning for a total of about 5 minutes. Without the effect of gravity, it doesn't slow down and settle at the bottom of the pole. In this demonstration, I take the horseshoe pole off of the locker and let it free float while I throw the shoes at it. That didn't work too well. In this demonstration, I decide I'm going to throw a horseshoe at the pole in 3 different places to see how the pole reacts. In the first demonstration, I throw it as low as I can to the base. And as you can see, there isn't much spinning motion of the pole itself as it reacts from having the shoe thrown against it. I'm going to try a different technique. How about the middle? Okay, I begin to see the pole turn as it reacts to the shoe being thrown at it, and it floats away. One last try by throwing this horseshoe at the tip of the pole to see if I can get it to turn even more as it free floats away from me. Certainly seems to.
Basketball is a sport that's near and dear to my heart here on Earth, and I was very interested in seeing how basketball would be different in space. As you can see, I start out with a standard free throw type shot, and the ball just caroms off in a funny direction, not anywhere close to what you would expect from shooting the same shot here on Earth. So I keep changing the angle from which I'm shooting, and I'm finding that it is pretty darn tough to make a shot in space. Finally, I look at it and I think that the only way to get the ball in the hoop is either to come up real close and slam it through, or to try to bounce it off the ceiling. That's the only angle that seems to work. And note that the ball stops in the basket. It doesn't get pulled all the way through. The next thing we tried was attaching the hoop to a free-floating book. You can see that every time I hit the book, which is now the backboard, with the very lightweight basketball, I can actually make the book and the hoop start spinning. Well, that makes life difficult when you're trying to make a basket up there, and I ended up coming up with a very simple approach. Just hold the book steady. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to make a shot with a free-floating basket and backboard. One of the things that's always impressed me here on Earth was the ability of the professional basketball players to spin around and make these really neat moves. Well, I was trying some of that in space. You can see it's pretty difficult. It's hard to control your body up there. I finally managed, after a while, after a number of tries, to figure out a way to go head over heels and accomplish a slam dunk.
This is my entry into the NBA Slam Dunk Contest for next year.
Now I know on Earth you think this toy works very well, but in space we couldn't get it to work at all. We had this thing floating around, but without the effect of gravity, it just doesn't work the same way. Now I took this toy, looked at it for a number of minutes, and tried to figure out what in the world do I do with this thing up here. It took me a while to finally come up with something that appeared to be unique in space about this toy. Watch when I close and open up the Jacob's ladder. Every time I did this, the ladder would turn into a different configuration. It was completely random, and we, the astronauts, couldn't ever really predict what would happen when we pulled apart Jacob's ladder. To this day, it still seems a mystery.
Here I am trying to produce standing compressional waves by holding one end still and moving the other end in and out. The result had some transverse motion to it because my hand also had some up and down motion. In the next sequence, I tried to produce compressional waves by moving my hand in and out a bit faster. Then I tried to produce the same type of wave by moving both ends. Next, I tried to stretch the wave out. And then I transitioned to producing transverse waves, first slowly, and then with a higher frequency and amplitude.
These magnetic rings are really interesting. I've got them arranged on this plastic rod so that the poles of the magnets are opposite to each other and they repel or push away. And you can see when I release the rings, they spring out equally along the plastic rod. And it doesn't matter whether I hold the rod up or whether I hold it down, because in this microgravity environment there is no up and down. They spread out equally along the plastic rod and push away from each other. Now I'm going to rotate the plastic rod very slowly. We'll see what happens. The rod is rotating so slowly that the magnetic force still keeps the rings pushed away from each other, and the spacing is about equal, about what it was before. Now I'll rotate the rod faster. Now see what happens. Now the rotational force has overcome the magnetic force and the rings are pushed together.
The magnetic marbles were a lot of fun to play with. What we were looking at initially was how far apart can we hold two marbles and have them still be attracted to each other. The first time we did it, we had the opposite poles facing each other so they would be most attracting. The second time we tried about the same distance apart, only with the like pole facing each other. Sure enough, they attracted there as well. This time, the marbles were just a little bit too far apart and they didn't attract. I put them closer together, but I started the one on the right in your screen with a little bit of motion. And that motion was just enough to overcome the attractive force, so they did not come together. Now I'm looking at the influence of one marble on the other without touching it, seeing how close I can come with one marble and how much I can make the second marble, which is free-floating, spin as a result. You can see that every time I make a pass around the marble, I'm affecting the spin of the marble, and actually I'm even pulling it towards the marble in my hand. Now I'm looking at releasing one marble with two marbles attached together to see if there's any difference in the attraction. It looks like the two marbles are pretty happy being by themselves and that third marble is left out. This time I'm putting the third marble in motion, and sure enough, if it gets close enough, it is attracted by the other two. Now I have strings of 4 marbles each, and we're going to see if they come together. That's a funny looking snake-like thing. We got a big kick out of seeing that. And then you tap it in the middle and it turns into a ring. This time I have 2 sets of 4 marbles, and they had the like pole facing each other, so they were repelling each other. And they would swing back and forth, and they actually did repel each other. And they're pushing each other away. Now I've got one set of 5 marbles, one big one in the middle and 2 little ones on either side, and I'm seeing what influence I can have on those 5 with one small marble. And look, it attaches to the end of the string. This time I start with the blue face of the small marble and the 5 marbles together facing each other. Initially they repelled, but eventually the attractive force overcame it and they came together. The next thing we took a look at was a string of marbles. We wanted to see how they reacted when we spun them around. As I spin them, it becomes more and more difficult as I go faster and faster for the marbles to stay together. Where do you think they're going to let go? Now I have 2 rings of magnetic marbles. I pass them very close to each other and they show no sign of attracting. They seem to be very happy just being on their own little ring. But if they get close enough and they're moving slowly enough, they will attract. Now let's try it with them very close together, moving very slowly. You can see they just are very happy to be on their own, and there is not nearly as much attractive force as there was earlier with the 2 individual marbles.
The comeback can wasn't quite as interesting on orbit as it is here on the ground. I could let it go here as I spun it up, and you can see how its rotation rate increases and decreases as the metal weight catches up. I also tried to spin it up before I let it go, and you can see it rotates quickly one direction, then slightly goes the other direction, back and forth until it comes to a stop. But because you can't lay it on a table and spin it up and have it roll down the table or come back to you as you let it go, it's not as interesting here.
In this first sequence with the car and track, I had wound the car up and just let it go without the track. And here, because of action-reaction, you see the car doing an end-over-end wheelie. Next, I tried to get the car to run on the wall. The main result when I release it is that the car springs back toward me off the wall from the little force I had applied with my hand to hold it there. Getting the car to run on the track was a bit easier in space than on Earth because the car didn't have to build up as much velocity to stay on the track as it did on Earth. In the second sequence, I got the car started and then let it go. Here you see that second sequence in slow motion. Wherever the car is on the track, the whole system, car and track together, moves toward that general direction. Next, I started the car on the track by giving it a push rather than winding it up. In this case, we wanted to see how long the car would stay on the track if I held the track steady enough where I wouldn't bounce the car off the track. Even though I knew intuitively, by the laws of physics, that this would be the case, it was amazing to me that any forward velocity of the car at all was enough to provide the necessary centripetal acceleration to keep the car on the track. Here in this second sequence, where I just push the car rather than winding it up, in this view, the car ends up stopping on the top of the track. This was amazing, even in space, to see the car creep along ever so slowly and then stop and sit there at the top. Finally, the car comes off the track and winds up in the center of the track before they both slowly drift away. Next, in a demonstration of centripetal acceleration, I get the car started on the track and then open the track. Once there is an opening, the car flies out in a straight line.
Okay, I'd just like to remind all the folks that are watching out there that, especially the children, that science applies to everything, even toys. And we hope that our demonstrations today have given you just a taste of scientific research in space. And we want to encourage all the children out there to do well in science and math, and to learn all you can about the world around you, because we need people like you to design and maybe even fly the experiments of the future. So as we say goodbye, we're going to release all of our toys at once. 1, 2, 3, now. Okay, bye-bye everybody.
Well, that ended a little bit earlier than I thought. Somebody asked, was that shot in 16? No, I cheated. I did digitize a bunch of stuff for NASA for the John Glenn Space Center back in the day, about 600 videotapes. And so periodically I like to show a little bit here and there. Oh my God, the AV Geeks neon's not on. Let me turn that on. Anyways, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show. Today we're going to watch films about toys. Because, of course, as most children, and myself as a child, I love toys. My birthday was in early October, and that is about the time that Sears would put out their wish book and JCPenney would put out their wish book. So I would sit and pore over the 20 pages of toys and just circle almost everything that was, obviously I wouldn't do Barbie or baby dolls, but there was so much stuff there that I was super excited about. And so toys, I would say nowadays my toys are a little bit more expensive and sophisticated as related to 16 millimeter film, like the telecine behind me. In the film scanners, those are tools, but they are certainly toys. I get the same level of giddiness when I play with them or unbox them, unwrap them. Get very excited. So anyways, we're gonna watch films about toys. That first film was not film, it was actually video. And I think it was shot on 8mm video. I don't think it was shot on a professional format, so it's a little blurry. But I have several films that talk about zero gravity, even back to like Skylab, where they would do similar experiments with toys. And the reason being, it's a way to show basic physics and engages both kids and adults. And so some of the toys are very simple compared to toys nowadays. Toys nowadays have Bluetooth, and they have some sort of web component, or they can control it with your tablet or with your phone, or and for a while I was thinking, like, that's unfortunate. There's kids are missing out. But then I remember the fidget spinners, those little fidget spinners, and I was like, yeah, that's what kids like, that type of stuff. And this next film, which is actually on film, talks about early pioneer toys. It's called Fiddles and Wimmy Diddles. Enjoy.
This is my doll, Florence Mildred. I call her Florence Mildred because I like the way it sounds. Sort of long and elegant, not like my name, which is Beth. Wake up, Michael, we're late! Florence Mildred has a nose for a good day. She really does. She knows what days are just plain and what days are really special. She told me this would be a special day. Can we go to the Maple Bush? Sure, let's go. Walks with Grandma were fun. My brother Michael and I used to call her, "Look sharp," 'cause you'd be standing in a forest or a field with just weeds all around, and she'd say, "Look sharp." At first you wouldn't see anything, but she'd pull up some root or weed, and we'd find it later on our dinner plate. Some of them tasted good, and some of them tasted awful. Look what I found! What is it?
It's a puffball. Good for you, Beth.
We collected some berries for Grandma's tea, and some roots for medicine, and some leaves to decorate the house for the party. Is this the goldenrod?
Yes, it is, dear.
I almost forgot. We were having a party at our house that night.
All right, let's get back.
The whole family would be there for games and music and dancing, and my best friend Alice was going to sleep over. But we had lots of chores to do to get ready for the party. By lunchtime, I was all tired out. I needed a rest. No one could whittle like Uncle Robert. When he set his mind to it, he could make any toy quick as a wink.
You know what this is, Michael?
No.
This is the Gee-Haw Wimmy Diddle.
A what?
A Gee-Haw Wimmy Diddle. What do you say to a horse when you want him to go to the right?
Gee.
And what do you say when you want him to go to the left?
Haw.
Well, this here's a Gee-Haw Wimmy Diddle. Look, get the horse going. right, now you tell him to go to the right.
Gee!
Stop. He's going by. Think he'll go to the left?
Ha!
You did it. Okay. Want to try?
Yes.
Now, I gotta go, but you can keep him, and you work with him, because sometimes he's a stubborn old mule. So you be firm with him, and he'll be good for you. Bye now.
Gee! Ha! Gee! Ha! Well, I'm gonna go now, Michael. Goodbye. Okay. Which side is G and which side is Ha? Florence, Mildred, and I stopped at Alice's house on the way home. I wanted to be sure she could sleep over after the dance that night. Michael was supposed to be feeding the pigs, but he didn't do it. He was riding his hobby horse instead. Grandpa, what's that?
It's a diabolo, Michael. Do you want to see how it works? First, you have to get it going. You throw it up in the air and try to catch it. Like this. Well, it didn't work that time. Time to look after those pigs, Michael.
Bye. I was so excited. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to peek into the parlor, and I thought I heard music. By 7 o'clock, the whole house was packed full of cousins, grandmas, aunts, tops, toys, and dolls.
Thank you very much.
Great Aunt Bertie brought her friend Miss Burns. Shelley brought her horse and cart. And finally, Alice came.
Why, hello, Alice.
Very nice. So glad you came tonight.
Hello, Alice.
We have everyone here. Can we get it?
She brought her doll, Grace. Now we could start playing.
Uncle Robert.
You know, John and Barb, I have something to show Michael. Michael?
Yeah?
Have you seen my pet worm?
Oh!
Are you ready?
Could you possibly play a Chartiste for Sharon and Faye? They'd really like to dance it.
Certainly would. Would you like to see some magic now? I'd like to see some magic. I certainly would. Eddie, give me that. Okay. How many legs have I got? 2 legs. 2 like everybody else. Watch this. Watch this trick, if I can do it. Watch the legs. How many? Oh, how about that? Where is it? Oh, no, there it is right here.
No,
that's not behind my back.
It was behind your back.
Oh, how'd you know?
You don't do magic because I saw. Florence Mildred did have a nose for a good day.
So that film kind of fits in this time period, at least even though it's Canadian, it kind of fits in the bicentennial frame where we as a nation kind of thought back to 200 years ago. Lots of people dressing in period costumes. And I remember also there's this folk art kind of movement. It's Foxfire Books came out. This kind of look back to how we used to make food and what crafts and arts we used to do, and it was kind of this revisiting that. And I remember my parents would drag me to lots and lots of those. And I kind of appreciated some of them. Some of them were just boring, but like dipping candles, who cares? We spinning flax into thread. Yeah, don't really care. This next film is where I learned about how toy telephone trucks are made. Enjoy.
A doll. Each of us brought a toy for and how we play with them and how we take care of them. But first, we're going to hear a story about how we get toys and where they come from. The story is called The Toy Truck. Once there was a little telephone repair truck. It looked just like the real ones that you see on the street every day. But this was a toy truck. It came from a toy factory where many people worked to make it. Watch how the parts of the truck are put together. As each truck is finished, it is tested to be sure it will work. Many trucks are made in the factory, but one particular truck had a little spot of yellow paint. That was an accident. This little truck and all the others were packed in boxes. Outside the factory, the boxes were loaded into a truck. And taken to the railroad station. Trains carried the toys to cities and towns all over the country. Then they were unloaded to be delivered to stores. Think how far the toys have traveled, how many people worked to bring the toys here from the factory, and think how many people worked to make all the other toys in the store. fun to go to the toy store where the shelves are full of toys. It's a wonderful make-believe land, just right for girls and boys. Now, some of the toy telephone trucks had come to this store to be sold, to finish their long trip from the factory to the homes of girls and boys. Look, there's the truck with a spot of yellow paint. Who do you suppose will buy it? The toy store was big, and many people came to look at the toys and to buy them. Sometimes people bought toys for birthday presents. Sometimes people bought toys to put away until Christmas. Sometimes children saved up money so they could buy toys for themselves. Many people bought the toy telephone trucks until there were only 2 left. And soon, the only truck left on the counter was the one with the spot of paint. One little boy wanted it, but his mother thought he was too young for it. One girl liked the way it looked, but she thought she was too old for it. Wouldn't anyone buy the truck with a spot of paint? Then along came Curtis David Wilson III. His friends all call him Skipper. Skipper was just the right age for the telephone repair truck. If only he might buy the truck. Now, there were all sorts of toys in the store, but somehow Skipper took a special liking to this particular one. Now, Skipper didn't have any money, but Mother could see how much he liked it. So, do you know what she did? Yes, Mother bought the telephone repair truck for Skipper. Tomorrow was going to be a special day for Skipper. Can you guess what day it was going to be? Yes, Mother was buying the truck for a birthday surprise. And so, the little telephone repair truck with the yellow spot left the toy store with Skipper and his mother. Well, the next day was Skipper's birthday. He was having fun playing games with his friends. He was also having fun playing with the birthday presents his friends and his family had given him. He was going to enjoy these toys for a long time. But there was one present Skipper didn't know about yet. Mother knew about it. Father knew about it. And we know about it too, don't we? There it is. Skipper thought this was the best gift of all. He thanked Mother and Father for giving him the truck. But we know that other people helped Skipper get his truck, don't we? The people who worked in the toy factory. The men who took the toys from the factory to the store. The people who worked in the toy store. All these people helped Skipper get his telephone repair truck. Now Skipper wanted his friends to see and enjoy it. He wanted them all to have as much fun with it as he was going to have. And Skipper was going to take good care of it, so it would last for a long, long time. Now we know the story of the toy truck. We know where toys come from and how we get them. Now, let's tell about our own toys. Wouldn't you like to tell how you play with your favorite toys and how you take care?
Kind of ended abruptly. Yeah, beautiful color on that film. And that's Kodachrome. And that was a cornet film, and you could tell it had been shown many times, and so it was very splicey at the beginning, and the ending was just gone. But hopefully in the scanning of all the cornet films, we'll run across the original materials for that. And of course I like that film because it has a kid named Skipper in it. How about that? All right. So much stuff to watch. This next film is from the Orgone Archive, which is based in Pittsburgh. And we scanned a bunch of stuff for them. And this one features a prominent ventriloquist and inventor of a artificial heart. Enjoy.
Here comes the Toyland Express with Paul Winchell and Jerry Mahoney.
Hooray! Hurrah! The Toyland Express is here to bring lots of joy and cheer to everyone. Hooray! Hurrah! We're here with a load of toys. Toys bring to girls and boys a lot of fun. So ready in your places, light up those happy faces. We're gonna show you lots of games and toys. Hip, hip, hooray! Hurrah! Fist, boom, ba.
Scotty, waddy, doo-doo.
Scotty, waddy, doo-doo. Scotty, waddy, doo-doo, da.
Well, here we are in the playroom.
Oh, boy, that's terrific. Gee, that's great. Okay, we're here.
Everybody out. Take it easy now. Don't. Wait a minute.
Take it easy now.
There's plenty of time. Just take it easy.
Okay, that's good. Very good. Very good. All gone?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Let's go.
Okay. Where?
Hey, attaboy, Davy. Give it the old 1-2. Attaboy. Lord, look at him go, huh? Hey, you know, Winch, this is the adjustable punching bag.
Oh?
You see, you stand on that thing right there, and then you give it the old 1-2.
Oh, well, go ahead, Davy. Let's see the old 1-2, huh?
1-2. Hey, that's great. Did you see that? Boy, now. Oh, hi, Joey. What do you want?
Turn on a punching bag.
Oh, sure. Say, how about giving Joey a turn of the punching bag?
Yeah, just lower it down, Davy. You see, Winch, this punching bag is adjustable. It can be made for any size. Tall, short, fat, skinny, anything.
Say, Joey, why don't you get in there and start slugging, huh? Come on, let me see how you can do.
Hey, that's a good one. That's another good one. It was a great fight, Mom, but the punching bag won. Go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Mark.
Hello, Paul.
Jerry, I'd like you to meet Mr. Mark.
How you do? Who's he?
Oh, Mr. Mark is the educational director of the Toy Guidance Council.
Oh? Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, that means that Mr. Mark is a man of letters.
He's a mailman?
No, you know what kind of letters I mean, like a PhD, an LLD, a DDS, an MD.
Oh.
Now, do you know what Mr. Mark does?
Sure, he's a fiddle-a-diddle-a-did.
Oh. Say, Mr. Mark, why don't you just wander around and make yourself comfortable?
Thanks, I will.
Oh, good.
Certainly have a crowd here today.
Oh, yes, indeed. Jerry's playroom is the gathering place for the whole neighborhood.
It certainly would seem so.
Hey, look at Susie.
Well, say, what you got there, Susie?
I'm setting some rhinestones on this dress.
Rhinestones, huh?
Oh, you ought to see her do it, Winch. She's great.
Yeah? Well, where did you get the rhinestones?
They come in this kit, Mr. Winchell. See? Get all these different colored jewels and the setter and everything you need.
Oh, I see. Well, is it easy to do?
Oh, sure.
Watch your winch. Watch this.
Just take a rhinestone, and then you take the setter like this,
Watch this.
and you put it in.
Well, oh, rhinestones is a girl's best friend. Well, I think you're doing very, very well, Susie. We'll see you a little later. So long. Whoa! Well, who do you think you are, Cynthia Roy Rogers?
Hi, Gary.
Oh. Gee whiz, isn't that a lovely colored wagon she's got there? Oh, it certainly is. May I hold that for a minute, Cynthia? Well, thank you. Well, look, Jerry. It's got Roy Rogers' brand on it. Yeah, and look at the pictures on the side, winch. It's got pots and pans and a feed bag. Hey, look at the horse.
You know, Jerry, my great-great-grandfather went west in a covered wagon.
He did?
Mm-hmm. You know, they say he looked just like me.
No wonder the wagon was covered. Go ahead, Cynthia. Here, let me see you pull it a little bit. Yeah, go ahead. Let me see you do it.
Hi, Jerry. I got something to show you.
You do? What is it?
Don't look.
Huh?
Turn the other way.
Oh, close your eyes. Close your eyes. What is it, Winch? I'm very excited. Well, you'll see it in a minute. Now, don't look. Oh, what is it?
Okay, Jerry, you can look now.
Oh, good. Isn't he cute? That's my cousin. Hi, Shorty.
Don't call me Shorty or I'll give you a shot in the head.
Say, you're a pretty good ventriloquist, Lynn.
Thank you.
Tell me, is he easy to work?
Oh, sure. You just pull the string and the mouth moves.
Don't give away the secrets, please.
And the head comes out, too.
Heavens, he just blew his top. Well, you keep on practicing ventriloquism. It's a lot of fun.
I'll say. And the directions are a cinch to follow, too.
Good. Hey, listen. Music. Shorty. Excuse me just a minute, Lynn. Excuse me.
Hello, Mr. Winchell.
Well, hello, Dottie. Say, you play awfully well. That sounds like a real accordion. Well, that's the golden accordion, Winch. Look at all the keys on it. Well, it seems fairly easy to play, is it, Dottie?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just as easy to play as the notes on the piano.
Oh. Well, how about playing the song for us, huh?
What about A Kiss in the Dark?
Yeah. Turn out the lights, will you? No, that's the name of the song. Oh, well, just play anything.
Okay.
Say, Jerry, let's go over there and see what they're doing. Okay. Glenny? Say, how many cars are you making, Glenny?
Well, I made this one for myself last week.
Yes?
And I'm putting this one together for my dad. His hobby's collecting model cars.
Isn't that nice? Mm-hmm. Say, these are real scale precision parts, aren't they?
Yes, sir. All the parts come built to scale. The tires, the chassis, and the springs.
Gee whiz, I wish I had a real Jaguar winch. I'd go zooming down the street. Hey, wait a minute. If you're driving a real car, you've got to know all the rules of the road. Oh, I know all about that stuff. Oh, you do, huh? Well, what's the white line that runs down the middle of the road mean? I'm following a good human man and his vanilla's leaking. He'd make a fine driver, huh?
Jerry better stick to these cars.
Oh. Well, you're doing a fine job, Lenny. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Mr. Winchell.
Hey, the telephone, Winch. Huh? The telephone. Come on, I gotta use the phone. Come on. Oh, excuse me, Glenny. I gotta use the phone. All right, what's the big deal with the phone? Could we borrow the phone, Charlie?
Sure.
Put in a dime, Winch. A dime? Yeah, go ahead. All right, there we go. What's so funny? That ain't a real phone. That's a bank. A bank? Sure. Oh, you don't think this phone works, huh? No. All right, just listen. Turn the crank, will you, Shirley? Hey, it's alive. There's a midget in that box. Oh, that's a record in there. A record? Sure. Turn it again, will you, Shirley? Number? Operator, would you get me Frankfurter tree I-812? Oh, that's silly. Well, thanks for letting us borrow the phone, Shirley.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Say, Jerry, I want to go over and talk to Mr. Oh, there he is right now. Hey, wait a second, Lynch. Huh? Look at this, will you? Look what Freddie's got. Hey, say, Freddie, what is it?
This is the TWI Junior Pilot Trainer.
Oh? Gee whiz, it's just like sitting in your own airplane, isn't it? Well, it certainly has all the stuff on it. Look at that. The altimeter, the throttle, the radio beam, the fuel gauge, the compass, and everything. Hey, show him how it works, Freddie. Go ahead.
Well, when you go off course, a warning buzzer sounds and the lights go on.
Gee, that's wonderful. You know something, Jerry? Practicing with a thing like this, I bet you could almost learn to fly your own plane.
Oh, not me, Winch. Every time I go up in an airplane, my ears get all clogged up.
Well, why don't you try chewing gum?
I did. I put a stick in each ear, but it didn't help.
You're supposed to chew it.
Now he tells me.
Let me see you fly a little more, Freddie.
Go ahead, Freddie. Whee!
Well, Mr. Mark, I know that you worked with a panel of distinguished educators in making these selections. Now, can you tell us why these particular toys were chosen?
Certainly, Paul. Educators like Professor Sheehy of New York, Dr. Gregory of Los Angeles, and Dr. Lewis of Chicago, all of whom served on our panel, valued a toy for its contribution to a child's growth and development.
I see.
One reason why they selected the TWA trainer we have just seen is that it encourages alertness and develops coordination between eye and hand.
I see. Well, it would seem to me that boys can prepare for careers as aviators in this unusual and interesting way.
You're quite right, Paul. Now, the Adjusto punching bag, strictly an exercise toy, develops muscular control.
And it's possible that Junior can develop the art of self-defense.
Very true, Paul. Sister, on the other hand, has an equally interesting toy in the Rhinestone Setter Kit. It demands concentration, but also helps to stimulate creative aptitudes.
And I'm sure she'll be proud of the practical things that she can make, too.
The covered wagon for a much younger child affords fascination and is an outlet for imitative play, while encouraging activity as the child pulls it around the floor or puts things into it and then takes them out again. The Jerry Mahoney ventriloquist dummy has a particularly interesting attribute as it develops poise and confidence in even the shyest youngster. So too with a piano accordion. In addition, the accordion's fine tone quality helps to teach music appreciation. The Jaguar kit, again, a concentration item, calls for resourcefulness and provides actual knowledge in mechanics. Now, another kind of knowledge is found in the wall telephone, which trains how a coin telephone is operated, as well as being an outlet for dramatic play. That is why all these educator-approved toys found their way into Jerry Mahoney's playroom.
Well, boys and girls, moms and dads, we hope that you've enjoyed your visit to our playroom today.
And we'll be looking forward to seeing you again real soon. Okay? All aboard!
So, boys and girls, remember,
From New Year's to December.
you'll always have a lot of fun with toys.
Hip, hip, hooray! Hurrah! It's Boomba!
Scotty Waddy Doo Doo.
Scotty Waddy Doo Doo! Scotty Waddy Doo Doo Da!
Oops, sorry. I'm chewing. 1 second. This off screen. I was going through a bunch of stuff and I found this little toy. This was something that for some reason I really loved. It was these little tiny, they weren't Hot Wheels, but they were some sort of little micro, this is before Micro Machines. But I have 2 of these little hot rods, which I loved. I played with a lot with my matchbook and with my Hot Wheels toys. All right, what do we got here? What do we got? Oh yeah, so Paul Winchell, man. He went to Columbia University, finished his studies in 1974, and he became a doctor of acupuncture. He met Henry Heimlich, the inventor of the Heimlich maneuver, and the two developed a lifelong friendship. After Heimlich invited Winchell to observe surgery in his operating room on several occasions, Winchell had the idea to create an artificial heart that he might help keep blood pumping through a difficult open heart surgery procedure so the patient might have a better chance of surviving it. He built a prototype and had a patent that he filed for in 1956.
when Jarvik started developing their artificial heart concept, Winchell donated his patent to the institution, and Jarvik, using many of Winchell's basic principles, took the device further, culminating with the Jarvik 7, which was the first artificial heart model to be successfully implemented in a human being with Barney Clark. Winchell also developed other devices, receiving a total of 30 patents in his lifetime, from products ranging from a disposable razor to a flameless cigarette lighter, a portable blood plasma defroster, invisible garter belt, retractable fountain pen, and battery-heated gloves. He also owned a shirt factory and proposed an idea he called the Tilapia Project, in which would have used the production of rapidly reproducing tilapia to help feed starving people in underdeveloped nations. So, his dummies, Jerry Mahoney and Knucklehead Smith, are now at the Smithsonian. So there you go. Plus he did a bunch of cartoon voices, too. Yeah. Pretty great. Okay, so, let's see. Time-wise, let me say thank you to Alex for the coffee. Coffee is a wonderful way to reward or punish AV Geeks, and you can do that by going to ko-fi.com/avgeeks or buymeacoffee.com/avgeeks, either one of those. You can also go to avgeeks.com and see other shows we put online. We've been doing this for a while, since mid-March last year. We're on episode 474, and we have watched over 2,300 films, you and I. So, thanks. Thank you for that. That's really great. This is why we collect films, so we can show them. This next film is actually a compilation reel that I digitized on behalf of the Prelinger Archive. And it just has a bunch of toy commercials, which I know you love. So here's television commercials toy reel. Enjoy.
It's a new thing. It's a fun thing. It's a swing wing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. It's a wing wing. A brand new transgram fun thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And now at your favorite store thing.
It's a what?
It's a swing wing. A fun thing. And everybody's gotta have one thing. It's a swing wing. A wing thing. A brand new transgram fun thing. It's a swing wing. A new thing. It's a swing wing.
Get Swing Wing, made by Transagram, where the fun comes from. It's a swing wing. It's a what?
It's Speedline. It's Aurora. Drag set. Stunt set. 2-in-1 set. 2 cars. 2-lane track. Race cars. Stunt cars. Power. Finger power. Speedline cars. Speedline track. Speedline Super Looper. Look at the box. Extra cars under $1 each. Aurora! Aurora!
From Gilbert Autorama comes the excitement and competition of the famous Indianapolis Speedway, featuring the exclusive new Gilbert Flyover Chicane. Watch the stock cars in slow motion. Up,
and go. Gilbert makes cars rugged enough to take this kind of punishment. And look at the great assortment of Gilbert cars to choose from. The roughest, toughest, most realistic cars on the road. Past the timer, through the lap counter. Now with stock cars up to the Gilbert flyover chicane. Only this time, in midair, the cars change lanes. And look, just like that, your Gilbert car track can become a horse race track with these exclusive lively trotters. Get all these Indianapolis Speedway extras separately, and be sure to get your complete Gilbert Autorama layout. Look at Gilbert toys first. They last.
It's the exciting new Daredevil Trick Track with the incredible Dolphin Racer, gear-driven for longer battery life. Daredevil Trick Track, full of fantastic tricks. A sensational new steering track. A wall of logs. A teeter-totter. And it's up, 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 and over we go. A somersault flip. And now, straight through a fly-apart house. Get Daredevil Trick Track, action-packed with tricks and tracks. It's thrilling, spilling, crashing, smashing. Daredevil Trick Track from Transogram, where the fun comes from. Wow!
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
Yeah, Monkey's Uncle. New stunt race game with a monkey business name. Spread the stunts out every place. Make it tough to win the race. Run wild, Monkey's Uncle. Wind the timer, run and take the stunt that says be a snake. It's great, Monkey's Uncle. Time is going tick, tick, tick. Do a rooster who is sick. Cock-a-doodle choo. Run wild, Monkey's Uncle. Hurry, hurry, do those tricks for the monkeys out of ticks. Run wild, Monkey's Uncle. Time, now's your turn to show your speed. Do more stunts and take the lead. Run wild, Monkey's Uncle. Catch a fish and give a toot. Be an owl who cries. It's fun, Monkey's Uncle. Time! Wiggle, waddle, quick, quick, quick. Do the build-a-tower trick. 12 stunts, just 3 tries. Case of tie-spin monkey's eyes. And you're a Monkey's Uncle. It's wild! Complete with stunt mats, cards, horns, clickers, tricks, spinner, and monkey timer. From Transogram, where the fun comes from.
Hello, all you people out there in Gameland. Today we're going to play an exciting new game called Loop-A-Lot. Now this is based on the scientific principle. You put your finger in the hole, then you take a penny. So you put it right there, or you spin it around. I drop my penny. I'll be right back. You spin the Loop-A-Lot, you stop, or you still got the penny. Now where did the penny go? You can do this with 1 penny or 2. Where would I be if I was a penny? Penny? Aha! Here we are! You see, it's the centrifugal force, the in going to the out, which keeps the penny in place. And when you get to be a super looper, you can use 1, 2, or 3 pennies. Loop-A-Lot is a poker game. So is Monopoly. Oh.
Everyone knows that beautiful hair makes a girl look beautiful.
Beautiful Chrissy has beautiful hair that grows.
This is beautiful Chrissy, the doll with beautiful hair that grows right down to her toes. Woo! Turn the knob and her hair is shorter. Press her tummy and you can make her hair grow and grow and grow right down to her toes. You'll love to brush it and brush it.
She has beautiful hair. She has beautiful eyes. She has beautiful clothes.
Beautiful Chrissy comes in this beautiful dress. But you can get all these other beautiful clothes for her too, and style her hair to go with them.
Beautiful Chrissy has beautiful hair that grows.
Beautiful Chrissy. She's ideal.
Beautiful Chrissy Chrissy has beautiful hair that grows.
This is beautiful Chrissy, the doll with beautiful hair that grows and grows. Turn the knob and her hair's shorter. Press her tummy and you can make her hair grow. And you can brush it and fix it different ways.
Beautiful Chrissy has beautiful hair that grows.
And grows. She's ideal.
Thunderstreak, Thunderstreak, Thunderstreak. The new super speed hydrofoil with 5-position hydrofins you set for action. Rev up high-powered prop. Position rudder. Check your course. Thunderstreak speeds across water. For submarine action, it crash dives underwater. Thunderstreak propels itself on maneuvers. You can make it turn, make it roll, or bank. Then, Thunderstreak rises, surfaces, and speeds away. Take Thunderstreak on snow patrol. It even skates over ice. Thunderstreak goes anywhere, so snap on Land Cruiser wheels and race with Thunderstreak on land, on ice, underwater, overwater. Thunderstreak, there's nothing in the world like Thunderstreak, made only by Ideal.
How did they get in these crazy positions? Playing Funny Bones, the game for people who love to laugh. Okay, back where you started.
The shin bone connected to the knee bone. The ear bone connected to the shoulder bone. The hip bone connected to the hand bone. The head bone connected to the head bone.
When you pick up a Funny Bone card, well, you'll just have to get Funny Bones, the game for people who love to laugh, by the makers of Monopoly. Funny Bones is a Parker game.
At Penny's, we have toys that race and walk, crawl and talk, wobble and whirl. Toys that buzz, beep, bark, eat, ring, trick, and jump. All the toys you see on TV and many exclusives at prices as low as you'll get anywhere. Charge them at Penny's.
Toys. They're often the first friend a child has, sometimes his best friends. As he grows, toys help expand his imagination, educate, amuse, and provide a richer childhood. And because toys are a basic part of a child's life, the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission sets standards to make toys safe and bans those that are hazardous. But all toys aren't as safe as we like to think. A toy that is just right for a 10-year-old may be dangerous for a 5-year-old. Even an infant's toy that can break into sharp pieces can cause tragedy. For more information on toy safety, write Toys, Washington, D.C. 20207, or phone toll-free 800-638-2666.
So, those giant Tinker Toys, man, that was the toy I really, really wanted. Wow, my hair's going crazy. What's going on? There's like static electricity or something. Look it down. All right. Anyways, yeah. I really wanted those giant Tinker Toys because I really thought you could use that to make like a clubhouse and you could climb on it and all this stuff. My parents never got it. And in fact, I have I nearly lost my hearing because of Tinker Toys. I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous episode, but when I was a kid, back in suburban Ohio, in the afternoon, I would watch the Ultraman TV show, the one that was made in the mid 60s, like 66. And I would get super excited, super excited. And at one point I was mimicking a monster that was there that had this crazy antenna. So I had the purple, wait, it was purple? No, it was the green Tinker Toys. And I had them, and I put them in my ears, and I was bouncing up and down on a rocking chair. And I was like bouncing up and down, and I fell over, and the Tinker Toy went into my ear canal, and I cried a bunch, and my mom freaked out. And I remember a doctor showed up at the house, made a house call. So I don't know what that deal was. I should really ask my mom about that. But I didn't. Thankfully, the Tinker Toy didn't like puncture an eardrum. It just kind of scraped the inside of my ear, outer ear, and my mom forbade me from watching Ultraman. When I turned 40, I actually got Ultraman on DVD, and I showed my mom, and I said, "I'm an adult now. I am allowed to watch this." So there's the story about toys. Also, I don't know if I showed this, but this is my Evel Knievel that I found going through a bunch of stuff in the attic. And you can tell his arm is very broken here. I had the Snake River Canyon set, which, it was one of these things where you spin it, you kind of rev it up, and then you hit the release, and it goes zzz. And through the magic of editing, it looks like it goes a long way, but it really only goes about, at the most, 4 feet from the little thing, and it just kind of tips over. So Evel Knievel, because I had G.I. Joes, which were big, but Evel Knievel I made into a real evil person, and I used an El Marco pen, El Marco being a precursor to the Sharpie. And I colored his hair all black because I thought that to be evil, he had to have black hair. And I also made his gloves black. And he was involved in all sorts of nefarious things. So, yeah, Evel Knievel. And his broken arm. I don't know what I did. I think at some point I was doing things with parachutes, where I was making parachutes out of handkerchiefs and throwing them in the air, and they'd fall down, and something happened where his arm got ripped off. Anyhow, there we go. Thanks everybody for tuning in today, and tuning in this year. This has been a weird year, but it's been a great year because I've been able to do this daily thing and spend time with you guys and show you a bunch of stuff. We have watched a phenomenal amount of films since the beginning of this show, and guess what? I have a phenomenal amount of films to go, so we'll just keep watching stuff. I hope everybody has a good Christmas. Even if you don't observe Christmas, I hope that you have time set aside for yourself and for loved ones, or just for yourself. If that's what you enjoy, I hope that you have that. And loved ones can be friends, it can be family, sometimes family not so much. But please be safe this weekend, and please take care of yourselves. We want to see you back on Monday, because that's when I'll be back. So everybody have a good weekend, a good holiday weekend, and I hope it's not a big hassle and you get to have some special moments for yourself. We will see you again, like I said, on Monday. As always, please rewind and love each other. And, yeah, we'll see you soon. Everybody take care.